Welcome to The Deepest Cut, a podcast about the movement from painful experiences to meaningful music. I'm your host, Matt Connor. There are moments when the words won't come. Andrew Osenga waited 9 years for them. Going as far back as his days as the frontman for the rock band The Normals, Osenga held on to a special refrain and riff that begged to be fleshed out into a complete song. Unfortunately, despite his best efforts over several years and dozens of iterations, nothing felt right, and the song sat incomplete. During that time, Osenga stayed plenty busy as a songwriter, producer, musician, and performer. The Normals came and went, and the chorus was never used. Solo albums were released, and still the song sat unfinished. As Osenga joined Caedmon's call, even they decided against recording it at first, after yet another version of the track was submitted. Entirely new songs were constructed around that chorus, only to be discarded when it was time to make firm studio decisions. But then came the deep personal loss of some of Osenga's closest friends, within a small group that had become its own family. Life shared leads to loss shared, and Osenga sat with them in their grief and sorrow. Now, we'll let him tell you the story, but there was good reason that chorus bothered him for so long. When it was finally time to tell this story, the muse was ready. The song Hold the Light was born, and the result speaks for itself. Now, you can hear the first version of the song on Caedmon's Call's album Overdressed. They did eventually record it. But Osenga's forthcoming release, also named Hold the Light, features unplugged takes of his favorite solo songs, and this version's really incredible in my opinion. On this episode of The Deepest Cut, we spoke with Andrew Osenga about the craft of writing personal songs, what it's like to sit down with the same chorus again and again and again and again, and the snapshots of beauty that come when community enters into suffering together. Here's our conversation with Andrew Osenga. Hello and welcome back to The Deepest Cut. My name is Matt Connor and I'm your host, my good friend, excellent guitarist, Andy Osenga. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Thanks, man. Good to see you.
I was just even stumbling over like how to properly introduce you because I feel like people know you from being musically involved with pretty much everything. Is that what do you normally say, right? You have your own music, but also everyone's seen you on stage with so many people. Like you and I were just talking about your years with like Stephen Curtis Chapman and different bands, Behold the Lamb of God tour, like just all over the place.
Yeah, my kids sometimes ask me, Dad, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Just whatever's in front of me. However, whoever I can serve in the moment, and if I can be playing guitar while I serve people, that's a bonus, you know.
Obviously, we're talking about maybe some darker themes or things here. After all, The Deepest Cut is all about asking artists about the most painful or difficult songs they've written. For some artists, that means just the ones that they're at least willing to discuss publicly and maybe not the ones all time. You chose a song called Hold the Light, and I want to get to that in just a second. But first of all, I'd love to sort of begin with the process for you in the first place of when when you realize you're going to write something to process or document a moment like this, a moment where you're wrestling with something, where you're just in a darker place, doubt, pain, whatever it is. Is there a different process for you to sort out a song like that than maybe others? Do you have even a process that you found like, typically when I'm dealing with these darker things, I tend to do this?
Oh gosh, I don't think there's a process. I mean, I think usually you kind of write those going, well, this might not be for anybody else, you know. Often you're writing those just because you have to, you know, or you're writing them I would say this, in my like earlier in my career, or when I was like in my early 20s, I wrote a lot just because I was writing a lot. Like I wrote 150 songs a year when I was 22, you know, like I just wrote every minute of every day. Now that I'm, 45, like I don't write that many songs. Like I don't have the time or the energy. It's like I I write now more for a project. Like, oh, I have an idea for a project. I want to write an album about this, or I'm working on this project, so I need to write songs for this. So I'm generally writing kind of with a goal in mind. So I'm putting that energy kind of more specifically towards something. So I still might write those songs, but they're more, you know, if there's something really personal, it's like I know it's not going to be for anybody, or it's like, oh, I'm going to couch this very specifically for, you know, in a way that I can use it to serve this project. So like I made a record in 2017, 2018 that was kind of a darker record called The Painted Desert that was like kind of an exploration of like grief and loss. And it's got a lot of darker songs, you know, and it was because I was processing a lot of those kinds of things and sort of gave myself permission to sort of write all those songs. And with the understanding that sometimes people need those songs. Sometimes you can write those songs and it's like, okay, as the audience, my counselor and my therapist, because I don't need to be doing that. And that's kind of obnoxious sometimes and can make it an awkward relationship and maybe an imbalanced relationship. And like, I don't need to be sharing. Some of these stories are not for everybody. These stories are for me and my friends, or me and my wife, or me and my counselor, or me and my pastor, or me and my whoever. But then there's other times like this story is worth sharing because I think these stories told this certain way might help other people understand their story. So you're writing this with the goal of other people being able to use it as a tool to process, to grieve, to use in their own way, giving people language for their own stories. And so that's the thing I didn't think about in my early 20s, you know, but now I understand sort of. I think about it differently now.
Have you miscalculated that before?
Oh, so and I guess that's part of it is because I've put myself in awkward situations and going like, I wish I hadn't said that. I've shared too much. And I've also hurt people by being like, oh, I told somebody's story and it was not my story to tell. Just I wish I had kept that part of my life for me. That was not for everybody. Or I could have told it in a way that would have been useful for other people, but kept the things I needed to be safe. You know, I often see young artists doing that. It's a big trend in pop music right now to sort of overshare. And then you see pop artists being like, leave me alone. Don't ask me these awkward questions. Like, well, you did really talk about these super personal things. And then you're telling people not to ask about it. It's like, well, you did kind of ask it. But I get it. I understand why they're asking, because you kind of ask people to ask. And it's an awkward thing. So when now that I get to be often in that situation as sort of a guide for younger artists, I often try to help people be like, hey, let's think through what this is going to look like 2 years from now when, you know, 100,000 people have heard this song. What are they going to want to ask you about? Are you sure this is how you're going to want to phrase this? And we've rewritten a lot of verses.
Hey, you mentioned The Painted Desert. I was a little surprised that your song selection went back to a Caedmon's album. And obviously you're coming out with a new version of this song, like an acoustic version, correct?
Yeah.
I guess I just wondered, like, no consideration of a song on The Painted Desert. What made this song the one you chose over maybe some others that I guess I would have thought was more obvious?
Well, I think, you know, maybe it's the way you phrased the question was like maybe the song was harder to write. And the Painted Desert record, I mean, I worked really hard on writing those songs, but those songs did not feel difficult to write. I mean, I worked hard on crafting them, but they came pretty naturally.
Whereas Hold the Light did not?
Hold the Light did not. That song took years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And so that song that's just like, that has always been the song that like plagued me as the song that took forever to write. And so the second you asked the question, it's like, oh, it's not even a second runner up as far as which song has been the hardest fought song to write for me in my career. So those may be maybe heavier songs or a darker, maybe thematically. But as far as just sheer pushing the boulder up the mountain, not even a close second.
Well, I kind of love that interpretation of this, but you mentioned like it took me forever or a long time, but like how long can you document how far back this song goes?
Yeah, I could. I probably, let's see. If we did the math on it, I think so the song came out on a Caedmon's Call record called Overdressed that I think probably came out in, let's see, I left the band in 2009. I think that record maybe came out in 2007. And I wrote that chorus in my apartment in probably 1998. And okay, so I probably had that chorus for 9 years. And like exactly as it is, like, will you hold the light for me? And that riff. It's 4 chords. It's that A minor, G, F, D minor thing. And like exactly as it is, being like, ooh, slow burn, big solo before I could play a guitar solo. I was not a good guitar player. Like I was a bad guitar player when I was in the normals. I'm not saying like I'm a great guitar player, but like I became a better guitar player over the years. I'm now able to play a solo. I was not able to play a guitar solo at the time. Now I like that. I like to play the song because I get to play a guitar solo. But I didn't know what the song would be about. But I was like, ooh, this chorus is cool. At the time, I think I thought it was like very Sarah McLachlan, and that was cool in 1998. So I had the chorus, and then so the Normals made 3 records, and I was the songwriter for that band, and I wrote a verses and a bridge to that chorus that almost made it on the second Normals record called Coming to Life, but it wasn't good enough. But we're all like, yeah, it's just not quite there. Didn't make it on that record. Kept fighting it. Probably rewrote it 3 or 4 times. Everything, completely rewrote it 3 or 4 times. A completely different song with that exact same chorus. Almost made it onto the next record, but didn't because it wasn't there. And then I made a couple solo records right as I was joining Caedmon's Call, and almost put it on every one of those records.
Oh my goodness.
I probably wrote 20 different songs to that chorus. And then when I joined Caedmon's, they were making a retrospective album. There was like a best of that they were adding 2 songs to called Chronicles. And they asked me if I would write a song for it. We submitted 1 song called Hold the Light and 1 song called like A New Day or something. I don't remember. Anyway, they cut the other one. Whatever the one is, I can't remember. And they cut that one. They did not record Hold the Light because it was not that good. But they were like, we love that chorus.
Wow.
And it was always just me writing it. That's very key to this. I was always the only person that did this. I was always just by myself. And the song was about many different things. Never fully knew quite what it was about. It was never really about anything concrete. I don't think it was ever about, it was always kind of amorphous. I don't think it ever had like a really, really concrete subject matter. But in 2000, I got married in 2002. We had our first daughter. I have 3 daughters. We had our first daughter in 2005. Later in 2005, we joined this small group. And this neighborhood small group met every Wednesday for 12 or 13 years. And that group got incredibly tight. In that group, some of our parents died. There were a bunch of kids were born. There were all these things that we were caring for each other, you know? Anyway, we started working on this Overdressed record at the same time as a family in that group had been really struggling with infertility, and they'd been struggling for years and years trying to have a baby. All of a sudden, miraculously got pregnant after like a decade of not being able to have a kid. And I remember this woman came in the door they just found out, like Wednesday night at like 6:30 found out, and came in the door. We were the first people she told, and just was like, we're pregnant. And we all were just like, oh my God, freaked out. And then like 2 months later, we were the first people that she told that she lost the baby. And we were just devastated. And they've since like adopted 3 boys of this beautiful family, beautiful story. Right after that, they lost that baby. Our group went out into their backyard where they still live, and we planted a weeping willow in their backyard down by this little creek that runs through their backyard. And we stood around it and just prayed for their family and just cried. And it was just so sad. It was at that same time we were working on this record. And I just was like, I think that's what this song's about. I think I've been holding onto this chorus forever because it's for this. And so I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. I probably wrote 5 or 6 like word document pages of lyrics, like far more that could fit in a song. Randall Goodgame co-wrote most of the songs on that record with me, which I really had never co-written before much until that point. But he and I co-wrote a lot of Caedmon songs together. And Randall was in that crew. We were also in that neighborhood group together. So he also stood around that willow tree. So I gave him that Word document and was like, I've fought this song for a decade. Will you just make this work? And he took my words and just cut out everything like E.E. Cummings style, just cut out most of it, 90% of it, and then handed it back to me. He's like, I think here's your song. From there, we kind of tweaked it a little bit. And then together, we got back together and like wrote the bridge. And the bridge is, stand around the willow weeping, we were praying in the backyard. Ooh, in the chill of the night, the friendship light reminded us who we are. And we're like, oh, that's it. That's the song. It's such a Randall line. It's not a Slugs and Bugs line, but it's an old school Randall Goodgame, the singer-songwriter line.
War and Peace, Randall line.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, not only was that song, I was holding onto that song for that moment, but like the song is about community. And I also needed like one of my best friends to literally do the thing the song's about to help me write the song. So like in that way, like, but yeah, anyway, it's just like on every level, that song is so both hard fought for me and just one of my favorite songs. So special to me for all about those reasons. So I also can't sing it without thinking of, my friend Randall, and of that community. And because it's like, literally, it is visceral to me every time. It's never like those words never just come out of my mouth without thinking of it. It's like every time it's like, I am with those people I'm still in that room with those friends, and I am still out in those backyard with those friends.
What did those friends think of the song when they heard it?
Oh, they loved it, and yeah, had their blessing. And
what that song? What is like once Caedmon's released it, you're playing it out, or it becomes a part of their catalog, your catalog. Have you like the response to that song in feedback to you? What's that been like?
What was fun? That's like the one. That was also fun is that like Caedmon's has their own history and legacy that even though I was in that band for 7 years, like I am not the Caedmon's legacy. The Caedmon's legacy is Cliff, Danielle, and Derek, and it should be like that is who Caedmon's is. And if I was in there 10 times as long as they were, it still was their band, and it should be. But that was like the one song that was like, oh yeah, but then there was this other guy, and he had that one song that was like, that was his one kind of mark that became kind of like a moment in the show that people would ask for, that people kind of remembered that like, oh yeah, that was kind of like my little footnote in the history of the band, which was sweet. And yeah, that I still play in my shows. And I just did this acoustic record that'll come out in a few months. I released it on vinyl this past Christmas time. So it's only out on vinyl right now. You can still get it. There's a few left, but it'll come out on like Spotify and YouTube and stuff in a few months. But it was for my birthday this past year. I don't usually celebrate my birthday. But this past year with my wife being sick and all these different things we went through, I was like, it was such an awful year. And I was like, I'm going to celebrate my birthday. So I took a day off. I just always work kind of around the clock. I was like, I'm going to not work on all these other people's music that I love and care about. And I'm going to spend a day with my old songs. So I booked a studio and had hired some of my friends that do all this video work that we always do for all these other projects that I work on. And I spent a day with a dozen of my old songs, of just my favorite songs that I've played over my career. And that was kind of my birthday present to myself. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And if I get anything, maybe I'll just have it as like stuff for Instagram or something. I don't know. But I'm just going to do it because I really need this in my own life. And it turned out really well. So we ended up making a record of it, put it out on vinyl, and go put it out as a record. So, I titled the record "Hold the Light." Just thought it would be kind of fun. So that'll be the title of the record. So this will be kind of the first time I have a version of that. It'll be my first version of "After the Last Tear Falls," which is a song Andrew and I wrote together, Andrew Peterson. So I've never had a version of that recorded either. So it'll be fun to have some of those kind of songs that are known for other people's records, but that I was, that I wrote. So anyway, it's fun to be a part of other people's stories, and it'll be fun to kind of get to tell my version of the story in a little bit in that way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, this seems like kind of the perfect time just to, like, we've talked all about it. Why don't you just take us into, like, let people hear the song for itself, the acoustic version.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'll be fun to play. Yeah. Randall, if you listen to this, thank you for being my friend and for helping me with this song. Guys, thanks for listening to this conversation. And here's my song, "Hold the Light."
It's been a long year, like a sleepless night. Jacob wrestled the angel. I'm too tired to fight. Every Wednesday for 2 years we've met. I've showed you all my anger, my doubts and bitterness. There was no judgment in your eyes, just the silent peace of God that felt so real in you. Will you hold the light for me? Will you hold the light for me? Hey. And I stay up late, 'cause I cannot sleep. Don't wanna face the quiet, it's just God and me. 'Cause I'm waiting for the gavel, handing me the sentence down. I don't believe forgiveness, or even repentance now. There was no judgment in your eyes, just the silent peace of God that felt so real in you. Will you hold the light for me? Will you hold the light for me? I wanna feel redemption flowing through my veins. I wanna see with clear eyes beyond lust and hate. I want the war to be over, to know the good guys won. I want love to hold me, to know I'm not alone. Standing around a willow weeping, we were praying in the backyard. Ooh. In the chill of the night, the friendship light reminded us who we are. Who we are.
You've been listening to The Deepest Cut, part of the Rabbit Room Podcast Network. Audio production and theme music by Isaac Vining. Logo and identity work by Meg Cook. The Deepest Cut was created and hosted by me, Matt Connor. Thank you so much for listening.